QSO Today, episode 197, Alex Grimberg PY1AHD. This episode of QSO Today is sponsored by ICOM America, where May is D-Star Month. Stay connected with ICOM's D-Star portable and mobile transceivers. This episode is also sponsored by QRP Labs, Hans Summer's amazing amateur radio electronic kit company. Check out the links in the show notes pages to check these fine sponsors. Welcome to the QSO Today podcast. I'm Eric Guth4Z1UG, your host. I met my guest this week, last year at the Dayton Hamvention, where he was pitching the Alexloop, his portable magnetic loop antenna in a bag. I'd seen this antenna used by a friend and was impressed by the whole package. However, I remember a great YouTube video that Alex made where he made a trombone-style variable capacitor for his magnetic loop antenna with 4 Coke cans, 2 syringes, and some surgical tubing. It was very clever, and one of the many reasons why my QSO today is with Alex Grimberg PY1AHD. PY1AHD, this is Eric, 4Z1UG. Are you there, Alex?
Okay, I'm here. It's a great pleasure to be with you and your fantastic audience, okay?
Alex, thanks for joining me on the QSO Today podcast. Can we start at the beginning of your ham radio story? When and how did it start for you?
Okay, it's something like when I was 10 or 12 years old, when my family went for a very small place, when all my cousins and more the brothers of my and sister from my father went there, a very teeny city on a 4 Brazilian region, PY4 land. We went there, and the road is the problem with the tropical rains makes a lot of mud on the roads, and very difficult to have contact with the people. A very small city, and when we arrived there, is an adventure. So my grandfather, mother, my grandparents, of course, was needing to have something news about this journey, because it took some 30 to 35 hours to leave Rio De Janeiro to all the family meet at this point on the PY4 region. And I remember, as soon as we get to a small hotel, we need to take to call the people from the front desk to put us on a line for the telephone line, because there is one pair of lines to the small city. And beside the hotel, there was a big house with very big antennas. So I didn't know nothing about ham radio till this moment. And I have asked some people, because I have a lot of electronics since very young, what means this big antennas over there? There is a radio amateur on this place. What means a radio amateur? The radio amateur is a guy that can talk to any people, anytime, anywhere, when they call with their home equipment. It's, wow, fantastic. And let me know more about this. And then the past go by. I remember then on the late evening, the people call my father and mother to talk to my grandparents at the hotel, because there is the call. They knock the door on the late night saying that, okay, the call to Rio de Janeiro is ready. Then I made a comparison. My goodness, my father, mother wants to be on a line, and there is a guy beside here that can talk to anybody, anytime on his radio station. And then I start to get interested about radio, and start to research since a little boy, and I love electronics, and start to read about this. This is the beginning of the history, the extreme power that this man have to have a radio that was thousands of years in front of the telephone lines,
A couple of questions. Where is PY4 land in Brazil? Is that the Amazon basin?
No. It's in Minas Gerais. It's Minas Gerais. It's
near Belo Horizonte.
Yeah, okay. Belo Horizonte is the capital.
Oh, so I've been there, so I know where that is. How about that?
Oh, great.
No, that's like 5 hours or so from Rio de Janeiro. It is now, right?
Yeah, now, because on this time, for this place that we went or go, we must take a coal train, and they take a bus to get there in 34, 35 hours, more or less, because we must change from the coal train to the bus.
When you returned from PY4 land, from Minas Gerais to Rio de Janeiro, did you start looking for antennas very similar to like the one that you saw?
Yeah, of course, of course. After this time, my interest in the radio was great. I was trying to spot antennas on every place that I go. Let me say a very important thing, that the radio begins to be magic to me when I was 10 years old. And it's still a magic for me when 68 years old. I feel the same sensation. And anytime I send a radio signal to the air, I feel like a mix of emotion, a mix of adrenaline, something like adrenaline,
Right, excitement.
Yeah, excitement. This is the word. It's the same excitement that I feel when I was 20 years old with my first lessons, 18 years old, till now is exactly the same,
Well, I can relate. I feel the exact same way. Here you are. You've been exposed to ham radio in Minas Gerais, and you're back in Rio de Janeiro. How did you get your first license? Where did you start learning? Did you find an Elmer there?
Yeah, I found an Elmer. The name of this Elmer was Isaac Eisenberg PY1CVI, Charlie Victor India. This guy was a friend of mine who loved electronics. He lived nearby my home, and he have a set of radios made with a BC-35 something from the Second World War. And he has modified this radio. There is a transmitter and transceiver. It's a field communication system from the war, and he made a modification to operate this radio in 80 meters. And I think I spent more time during the eve on his home than in my home, beside him on his radio station.
Now, was Brazil pretty friendly to kids wanting to get ham radio licenses in those days?
The radio activity here in Brazil is a little bit small, but they have many activities. They have some activities that brings the young people to radio. There is some mobilization on this part. On this part, it's very important to talk to you and for your audience is that in Argentina, the people make a very interesting thing to motivate new child to radio. The hams make something like a schedule, and one on one part of Argentina, the other one on the other side of Argentina, another place, all of them 2 or 3 days before, takes all the boys and girls and mount their radio station in the schools. So 1 school, 2 schools, 3 schools, many schools, and they have a schedule for 1 day at exactly one time on the interruption between the classes. All of them puts the child together to speak to the radio. I think this could be multiplied by ham radio all over the world. This is a fantastic way to motivate and to give initiation to a new generation of ham radio lovers,
I think it's a great idea. How old were you when you got your first license?
I was 19 years old. And one day I took my first call sign was PU1XLS. PU1XLS. And then I get my first class license when I was 20, the PY1AHD, that is my call sign till the present day.
I see. So the PU1XLS, was that a limited license? It gave you limited privileges?
Yes. You could only, let me remember here, only 2 meters, 80 meters, and 10 meters. 2 VHF, 10 meters and 80.
So 2 meters was voice?
Voice, yeah.
But 10 meters and 80 meters was that CW only?
10 meters 10 meters and 80. No, 80 phone. No, both. 10 and 80 on this time was free. You can use a single sideband AM and CW. There is partitions on these bands that could use on the CW and single sideband.
So here you are, age 20, with your current call sign and a first-class license. What was the rig that you had?
The rig that I have on this time is a home. My first radio was a homebrew radio made with television tubes. Let me try to remember now. It's the 12AX7 for the audio, for the mic preamplifiers. There was a crystal mic, a 12AX7. Then a shock modulation EL34. Then for the output, there is a 64 for oscillator, and EL34 for the RF output, giving around 25 watts.
Wow.
And the receiver. The receiver I have appropriated for my father Invictus radio, and have some modification to cover the high bands. I take some turns of the coils and to make it go to 10 meters,
So you took a broadcast radio and modified it.
Yeah. A broadcast receiver, to modify it.
And do you remember your first contact?
Let me try. It was a guy called PY1AHD. PY1AHD is a guy called Johnny Galper. He's a very clever guy that works on some telecommunications companies and loves radio here. And actually, he is living on the PY4 region in Minas Gerais.
So that was over 40 years ago.
45 years ago, more or less.
Your favorite operating mode is it single sideband?
My favorite mode is single sideband. I love to work. I love outdoors communication. I prefer much more take my radio and my QRP rigs and my magnetic loop antenna and take to a beautiful place, to a beautiful scenery. Any place to me outdoor operation is better than stay at home making radio. I have IC7000 at home, but I have Elecraft KX2, Elecraft KX3. I have IASU FT817, and I have an Icon IC703 for 10 watts. I love all of them, my QRP radios.
Here you are, a 20-year-old first-class ham radio operator. Did ham radio play a part in the choices that you made for your education and career?
The first thing to do, I have passion for science for all my life since a little boy. So I tried to get on a university for engineer, to be an electronic engineer. Because at this time that I was trying to go to university, I have 3 electronic courses on electronics, but I have tried, but I was not successful on the examinations because it was very difficult this time to get into the university. So I have decided to get to be a lawyer and have made the university for lawyer, and I'm graduated in lawyer. Okay.
Were you a practicing attorney?
I had never go to the tribunals, I have never exercised the profession.
So what did you do professionally after that?
I have worked on electronics for all my life. When I was last 22 years old, I know a guy who calls Luis Felinto, who is a friend, a ham radio friend, and he was working at IBM. And he was invited by the uncle of his girlfriend to go to United States to make training school for the companies that the girlfriend uncle have a representative company for several American companies here in Brazil. So Luis Felinto was not interested in leave IBM to try this work with this guy, and then he introduced me to the uncle of his girlfriend on a Friday night, and on the Monday I was taking the plane to U.S. So I went there to make many training school. One on Quinder Electronics in New Jersey. That's a manufacturer of frequency shift keying equipment for telecommand and teleprocess. For Aerocom, that's a company specialized in avionics, aviation electronics. And I have another customer, and Magnavox Corporation, who is a company who made the first telefacsimile. It's the fax, you know. It looks like the size of this machine is more or less like a small refrigerator, and you send copies that you could barely read on the other side. You know, was a great experience. Past making training schools in U.S. so young. You know, it was great. After this, I put on my own company called Radiocom Telecommunications in 1974. I put on my company, Radiocom, and I work with radio communications equipment and security equipment installations like closed circuit TV and alarms and all kind of products for this, you know. And in sequence, I have gone to a very shopping mall. Probably you know a shopping mall in Rio de Janeiro called Rio Sul. Rio Sul is in Botafogo, and a place here in Rio, a brand new shopping mall. And I have decided to make something like a spy shop on the same malls that you have in U.S. and Europe. I have had the first spice shop on the South Hemisphere here in in Rio de Janeiro. So there are all this kind of. I have safes. I have hidden cameras. I have alarms. All this kind. I stayed there working for a long time till the moment that my experience with the magnetic loop started to have begin, you know.
Just so that I understand, what you're saying about a spy shop is that what you've got is like wireless microphones and hidden cameras and all the spy. I think I've seen them here as well. That's very cool. But you had that spy shop for years and years?
Yeah, I have this spy shop for more or less 15 years.
Wow.
For 15 years. It's a great time. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds fun.
I probably was the first to make popular here the closed circuit TV camera. I make it actually you have thousands of companies and thousands of Chinese suppliers, and you know, so but on this I was the exclusive representative for Sony Corporation. I have worked for Hitachi for something 2 or 3 years, and then I worked for Sony for 10 years to launch on the market a system called Watch Cam. It's a very teeny camera that goes on the door and could see nobody outside the door could imagine that you would be looking, somebody is looking you. So it's very important because there are many people who work with precious stones and all and jewels, and they need to know what is the people on the other side of the door without opening it, you know, waiting for open only if they know the people. So this was fantastic because it's very difficult to have a camera hanging, a very big camera like a shoebox pointed for the door. This was very suspect, you know.
And now this message from ICOM. Spring is in the air, and May is D-Star month at ICOM. ICOM offers a wide variety of high-performance D-Star transceivers that allow you to stay connected around the neighborhood or around the world. Last week I spoke about the entry-level UHF-only ID31A Plus D-Star portable. This week, let's go to the other end of the ICOM D-Star spectrum. The best way to operate VHF and UHF from the car is with this 50-watt mobile transceiver. The ID5100A dual-band D-Star and analog mobile has taken innovation and mobility to the next level. With its 5.5-inch touchscreen display, the ID5100A allows you to easily monitor both analog and digital channels using the DV/DV Dual Watch feature. You can program up to 1,000 channels in this rig, create 50 programmable scan edges, and 1,200 repeater memories, allowing you to preload the ID5100A for your next cross-country vacation trip. The internal GPS allows you to report and trace your location, as well as find the repeater sites along the way. With the optional Bluetooth module, you can pair your smartphone and Bluetooth headsets to the radio. The guys at Amateur Logic made a great demonstration video of the ID5100A on the ICOM website to better understand the value of this unique and capable mobile. I will put a link to this on the show notes pages of this episode of QSO Today. So next time that you're looking for a great D-Star mobile or base station upgrade, check out the ID5100A at your nearest ICOM dealership. And when you do, please tell them that you heard it here on QSO Today. If you're attending the Dayton Hamvention, stop by the ICOM America booth in Building 2, Booth 508. And now back to our QSO Today. Now, you mentioned earlier that you're a QRP operator and that you love QRP. Why did you become a QRP operator, and why do you love it?
Oh, the first time I was modifying 10 meters radius. 11 citizen band radius to work on 10 meters, and this I take this and go to mountain top with a battery, with a gel cell battery, put on a dipole and try to make contacts, which is very difficult. My QRP life really starts to give great results after I'm getting my A-class license, so I can go in any band that I want, and if I have a band closed here, I can change for another band and, for another one and try everything. I was very limited when I was beginning my activities, but after the A-class, I could make anything that I want.
But why QRP? I mean, why wouldn't you just get a 6-band transceiver with 100 watts or 250 watts output and do that?
Okay, because the QRP is a challenge, okay? It is a challenge for the possibilities to improve systems, irradiation systems. So I believe how big are the power, how predictable is the result of your QSO try, how big are the power, the emotion goes down, in how lower the power, your adrenaline, your excitement goes up,
Oh, I get that. You're a QRP operator because of the challenge of it. But it's also, you said earlier that you also like to operate from the great outdoors. And you're in Rio De Janeiro, so you have one of the most beautiful beaches in the world close by. Do you take your ham radio, your QRP station out on the beach?
Observe, there is another problem, a very serious problem that I avoid to do this. I need to go to some other places because everybody knows that Rio de Janeiro is living actually a very problem in security, and have many problems. And I am very concerned about the possibility that I have to be operating my radio on a beach nearby my home, and somebody comes with a gun and take all my radio stuff, So I need to be careful to select a place that is safe to operate. Unfortunately, we need to talk about this because I am a little bit afraid, but I am associated from a marine club that I have many videos on YouTube that I took my radio to this club, and there is a pirate ship they have built for the childs of the club that I have appropriated of this build on the days of the week to have my radio there and sit and make a lot of QRPDXs. I have a QRPDX with Buddy bud do Ronfo, but the pole. I have QSO with the with bud and tricycle.
Right, he's got a tricycle that he drives around on. Right.
I have a QSO with bud from this point here in Marina Barra Club. That's this club, the nautic club that I am associated. And with Buddy, I have with Ron Baran, walking bike mobile. I have many. In one day, I have 12 or 10 exotic QSOs.
And you're operating QRP.
QRP on 17 meters and 1815750.
Buddy's dragging around a power amplifier on his tricycle.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe you're comparing the buddy pole to the magnetic loop. Okay, so you've appropriated the kids' pirate ship. You're operating maritime mobile in the harbor of your yacht club, and you're using a magnetic loop antenna. How did you get into magnetic loop antennas?
Magnetic loop antennas exist for more than 100 years. They are very common, in the literature for 100 years. But what I have decided is that I was trying to find out a way to have a very simple irradiation system without using counterpoises. And if I could hand it on my hand, and looking for an efficient way to make contacts. So I was called, I was needed to break some very important paradigms about the magnetic loop construction. The first thing that I have done was to reverse the position of the variable capacitor, because if you use on the top of the antenna that all the gurus claim has the best position, and it's really the best position to have the magnetic loop is to have the capacitor on the top and the excited loop on the bottom. But I was trying to make a portable antenna that I could hold on my hand. So I think on the possibility to reverse this, let me try to use the excited loop on the top and the capacitor on the bottom, because I will have a very good balanced antenna to hold in my hand. But let me try to see if this works. The first tie that I have made was on Bahia, with a 6 region that I spent a weekend. I could talk to everybody with a coaxial cable antenna. That was another break paradigms, because the people said that nobody can use coaxial cable, because you need to make the loop with a solid, a constant material. And I have decided to use the coaxial cable because as I was looking for a portable antenna, I need to roll the cable to carry it to any place that I want to go. So I have changed it, and it works great. And I have, you know the story of the bee. The bee have a so very small wings that technically he could never fly. So I have made the same theory of the bee. I have made with the Alexloop. I have reversed everything. I have reversed the position. I have used coaxial cable. I have reversed 4 or 5 paradigms to have this antenna working. And if you, for example, if you want to see if the antenna that you are seeing in front of you, the magnetic loop, is it was an Alexloop technical based antenna, is only see the position of the excited loop and the variable capacitor. So if you see any antenna or any portable loop that uses the capacitor at the bottom and the excited loop at the top, this is the DNA proof that this is an Alexloop based antenna, the Alexloop magnetic loop antenna,
Alex, can I ask you a more fundamental question? How does the magnetic loop antenna work? I mean, it seems to me it's obviously much smaller than a quarter wave on 40 meters. You're looking at a loop that has about a 10, 12-foot circumference for a 40-meter loop. How does it work?
There is a lot of things that contribute to efficiency. The first law of all is the magnetic loop is the most efficient a small antenna that you can imagine that exists. Is the most efficient for its size. Of course, if you have a 3-foot magnetic loop, you will have exactly the best possible antenna. It's better than a dipole, for example. If you go for 20 meters, you have more or less 45% of the efficiency of a dipole. If you go down, for example, in 40 meters, a 3-foot loop gives no more than 5% of the efficiency of a dipole. It's 95% low. But there are some advantage you can turn it and find out to kill noisy sources. When you have a magnetic loop and you can turn it, you can direct it to null some kind of noises. If you null noises, you improve your signal, so you can you can have a contact. It is the great difference. There is a lot of physics advantage that I could not spot at all how they work, but it's a very impressive the practical results. There's a guy called Mike Albrecht in Texas. He has 2,500 confirmed QSOs with the Alexloop and FT817, 2,500. I have confirmed that I have 1,200 more or less.
Well, that's pretty amazing. One of the big challenges for people that look at magnetic loop design on the internet is that they see that you have to have a big vacuum variable capacitor. How have you gotten around this idea that you need a big capacitor in order to operate a magnetic loop antenna?
Vacuum variable capacitors are even more difficult to find out, and they are very expensive. They are very heavy. The great advantage is that it can support very high powers, because his plates or his capacitance system is on a vacuum ambient. So you cannot sparks, you don't have sparks till the limited power. So anyway, I think the best way to go is with the standard capacitors, because they are much more easy to use. If you want to make antenna to go outdoors of your building, outdoor of your on the top of your house, you can think on the vacuum variable. But if you are thinking on a portable system, the best thing to do is to go with a standard double section capacitors. We need to take care to not use the standard capacitors, but you need to take the split tie capacitor or the butterfly capacitor, the butterfly or the split stator, because this way you don't have losses for the mechanical joints. If your permission, I will tell you, I have recently developed a system of connectors, gold-plated monoblock connectors to use on my antennas. This monoblock connectors was designed to have the lowest possible loss, so the capacitor can see a solid conductor, because it's shorted the center pin and the outer pin. I call this antenna Alexloop Premier because it used gold-plated with the Brazilian mines gold. It's not a chemical gold. It's a real gold on the connectors, okay? Of course, a very thin layer, of course.
Now, anybody that's studied the magnetic loop antenna sees that it's very, very important that the connection of the loop itself to the capacitor has no resistance. And I'm assuming that's because the amount of the voltage generated when you're pumping a signal into the antenna is extremely high. So you're solving that with these new monoblock connectors. Have you had these problems, or is it because you're operating QRP that you actually don't experience the kinds of losses that you would normally have with a higher power?
Oh, look, there is another reason to make the losses as low as possible, considering that you're using QRP. How less loss, how better, because there is a significant difference that between make a QSO and don't make a QSO. This is the way that I have developed this connector, because it's the way that I find out recently. I am trying to find out the manufacturer for a long time, but actually I have here in the south part of Brazil a company that is making this for me. They are the capacitor. We will see a conductor. There is, in other words, it is the nearest solution to a coaxial cable. Seems or looks like a solid rigid conductor. Okay.
So the Alexloop antenna uses the shield as the conductor. Are you also tying the shield and the center conductor to get together, or are you just ignoring the center conductor?
I have ever made this. I have shorted all of my loops since the very first one till now. I always have shorted all because I am looking for RR. I need to look for the lowest possible internal resistance of the conductor. So this is the way that I use the conductor, the inner conductor and the braid connected together.
Did you design and make your own variable capacitors?
No. My capacitors is made in Japan. Was made in Japan by a company called ALPS that doesn't make that anymore, but I have found a person that I have a big stock of these capacitors. The problem that I have has my consumption is going on. The men who have these capacitors make it cost higher to me, higher and higher, but it's best possible capacitor for the magnetic loop. So there is many people that took the design of the Alexloop, and they are replicating in despite of the intellectual property. But the problem that I don't have enough money to pay for a lawyer and to take care of this interested for me, but the people are trying to copy. Of course, I have decided anymore the share some a very important information about magnetic loop, and I keep for me, unfortunately, because I was sharing it with all the hams around the world, and I have a great pleasure to help, for example, a guy from Indonesia, a very poor ham, and I contrasted with these people magnetic loops using variable capacitor from old radios, and people I have many of these stories that many small communities and the hams send me emails, and we assembled together a magnetic loop with the things that they have at home and they found on the waste or sometimes, So it's a great pleasure to me. But what makes me hurt a little bit, what makes me bad, it's now that a lot of people is trying to make money, easy money, and they know nothing about magnetic loops and only trying to make his copies. So it's a problem that all the world is needing to deal.
Let's take a short break to hear from QRP Labs. I got a message this week that Hans is filling over 4,000 orders of the QCX transceiver. With that many QCX transceivers, the expertise around this fine QRP Labs kit is accelerating at a rapid pace. This means that your investment today in this kit will pay off in the long run from the upgrades and modifications that will come along. You can get your QCX transceiver now for under $50 US, join in on the fun, and be ready for springtime operation. Be sure to join the QRP Labs email list to keep up to date with the upgrades, improvements, and accessories that will be developed to make this amazing kit even better. So if you're looking for a fantastic way to spend a few nights building, then lots of nights operating, click on the QRP Labs logo on this episode's show notes page to tell QRP Labs that you heard it here on QSO Today. QRP Labs is my favorite kit company. It should be yours too. And now back to our QSO Today. Before I discovered you and the Alexloop antenna, I saw a terrific YouTube video online of the Coke loop antenna. Could you explain what the Coke loop antenna, because that video was your video?
Okay, and now this video is the first day of the year I have decided to make this, and actually in Brazil the people have the Diet Coke and the Standard Coke. And I observed that the Diet Coke is a little bit thinner than the other standard one. And I had take a part of them and made a trombone style capacitor. And I made this trombone style. I put two of the thicker ones on the top, with the loop connected on them. I took the thinner one, puts a board of PC board, a double copper PC board, and I have made shorted the two thinner cans.
The ends of the cans are shorted together.
Yeah, the ends of the can are shorted together. So I put this on a cylinder
from a syringe.
Yeah, syringe. Yeah, that's right. With a tube with water inside, and when I pressed the syringe on my hand, I move the cans and change the resonant frequency of the loop with the capacitance. So I have developed what I can call it. I call the low technology. There is a high tech and the low tech. This is a low tech. So the great advantage that you have no Arduinos, no batteries, nothing to go wrong. Everything is working, and this antenna works great. And I have discovered a lot of things when I made this antenna. I have some studies about this, and this antenna can help me and make a great evolution on the future models.
Well, I thought it was very clever. You made a hydraulic actuator using some surgical tubing and two syringes.
Yes, yeah.
Using the Coke cans as the capacitors. It was absolutely brilliant. And I will put a link on the show notes pages to that video, because that's really fun to watch. And you say that the antenna really performs well?
Yeah, performs very well. And this antenna have been exposed on the Friedrichshafen show in German. And I take to Japan in 2015. I have the great honor to be invited by IASO to participate on the Tokyo Ham Show 2015. And I went there with many things. I am a member of the MLA48 group of Japanese ham amateur radios. I am a part of this group in Japan. And I took this antenna for there, and I show it at this group, and the Alexloop was showed at the IASO Bude Tokyo show. Was a very, how strong is the thing to me when my emotion when I get in at the show and saw my antenna demonstration at IASO booth in Japan, in Tokyo. Because on my mind, I was thinking very curious things. My goodness, I brought all this components, the material from the hardware store, and I am here on the stand on the booth of one of the most emblematic companies in a 60 years company in Japan. It's we could never imagine my emotion see my antenna over there. After this, I have demonstration this, as I told you, in German. About the Coke loop, I took the Coke loop to Japan, and to U.S. 2 or 3 times, and every time I bring it, it's another show at the show,
I thought it was just fantastic. You have a YouTube channel, and I'll put a link to that as well. And on that YouTube channel, I discovered that you also like to homebrew and do QRP kits and stuff. And what I was really taken by was the way that you packaged Asher Farhan VU2 ESE's BitX transceiver. Could you talk a little bit about your home brewing and building and what you did with the BitX?
On the big side, I have made some improvements, and FLL, BFLL from IK3OEL from Italy. I have put VFO from PY1AHD from Brazil. And I have decided to make a very uncommon design. I want to give something like a look, a different look on this. And, there is a very important thing. My grandfather went to U.S. They have relatives in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia area and New York. My grandparents, and then my grandparents was walking on the street and saw the Lafayette Radio Electronics selling a bag full of components. This is around 55 years ago. So my grandfather brought this bag to me, and there is a big vernier. This vernier that you can see on this BTX40, it's exactly the one that my grandfather brought to me when I was a boy, and I was waiting all those years to have an application on the last year. It's a very important thing. It's something like my grandfather was like my mecenas. Was the guy who provided me money to evaluate my ideas when I was a boy.
Well, I think it's amazing that your grandparents, as they're far from Rio de Janeiro in Pennsylvania, think of you when they see a bag full of parts and brought that back for you. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I saw your modified BitX, but it looked like you also built a multi-band single sideband transceiver. What was that? And I'll put a link to that in the show notes pages as well.
No, I'm multi-band QRP. I have not made a multi-band till the present moment. I have ordered now another BTX board that is a multi-band, and I will make a radio with this one. But I don't have a multi-band, a homebrew equipment till the present.
What I saw it looked like there was a relay switching board for a bunch of front-end filters. Was that not a homebrew radio, or is that a different radio?
Of course. This one is SSB 6.1. It's a board that there are some guys from China that make this board. There's a kit that is China made. There is a group on the internet about this. It's called SSB 6.1. If you search for this, you will look at this. It's a very good radio, a 6-band radio. And took me a lot of time because it was my first surface mount device construction, and it was a successful because I have made on a breadboard with a section of the thing, and it works great, something like 25 watts on 40 meters and 15 watts on 10 meters.
Oh, that sounds great. And are you using hot air tools in order to manage the surface mount components yourself?
I have designed a board that to make it easy to me to make the assembly. It's very difficult to me to explain to you. I can take some photos. There is there is two strong LED lights that points to the board to give a good looking at the component, and there is something like a stick, like a tooth stick, a big one, and I put something very. I put a metal part that to make pressure, and I can take the component and make a pressure, and this point is wood, okay? Don't hurt the component. Press the component to the board so I can easily solder it.
I see. So you're using the light to shine on your work. You're using the toothpick to hold the component down, and then you're hand soldering it with a tiny soldering iron.
Yeah. This is yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, that's very cool.
Yeah. It works great, and this device helps me and make the circuit. My 68 years old eyes and listening devices is not my biological ones is not working the same way, when I was a teenager, okay?
Last year, I met you in person at the Alexloop booth in the Dayton Hamvention. And at that time, you were showing my friend Wayne Burdick, N6KR, the Alex mic. What is the Alex mic?
Okay. It's very interesting because my story is developed my designs for my own needs. So I have developed the Alexloop because I am very lazy to send wires, to find out reads and things like that. I need something that in 90 seconds I can go to the air, If there is nothing to hold the antenna, I can hold it in my hand. I can tune it with my thumb to make easier. The Alex mics comes with this, the Alexloop. The Alexloop KX2, KX3 are fantastic radios. It's unbelievable the quality that Eric had put on these radios. And the only thing that I was lacking was my problem in listening is the tiny speaker. And normally I go outdoors and you have some environment noisy. So I have made a prototype with amplifier, a 2 watts amplifier, and a rechargeable lithium battery with charger. And I have made one and sent to a company in China to primorate it, to make it more beautiful and more rugged. This microphone is an IP67 standards, and have a 3 watts amplifier inside. It's called Alex mic, and it's used to improve the audio of the Alexloop KX3, KX2. So you plug it in the microphone. The loudspeaker is in your hand, and you can put the volume level at the place that you want, and you use it very nearby you because you have a loud sound just 30 centimeters in front of you. So I have decided to make this thing to me, and I believe that could be a great solution for all the boys from our age that are hams that need something more audio punch, So this have born the Alex mic. It's an interesting device, and
So it's a speaker and a microphone, so you can hold it right up to your head, and while you're using the radio, and you can hear the audio really clearly, and you have a nice, beautiful sound.
Yeah, correct. This is
that's very cool.
Yeah.
You said to me in an email that you love karaoke. Well, what is karaoke, and why do you love it?
Oh, I love it because when I was many years ago, I was working on a company called Transistorlandia. I probably 16 years old. I work very, very soon. Okay, and I saw many magazines coming from Japan talking about the karaoke. We're talking about 50 years ago, 55 years ago. And my father was a professional singer, my father. And I love to sing either, okay? And I have decided I make a set of karaoke system at my home so I can use it. I have 2 Behringer mixers, one effect generator. I have all the system. I have a boom mic, a high quality one. And I enjoy very much this. As I told you, I use this system. It has my second hobby after the ham radio. And considering the ham radio, the propagations conditions are so bad, that I am very near to turn myself into a professional singer, if the propagation continues to be so bad this way,
So you've got a microphone and an amplifier. I get that makes you, and you sing. You're singing into a microphone and amplifier. But what makes it karaoke? Is there some kind of a display? Do you have some kind of data that shows you the lyrics? Frankly, I've never done karaoke, so I don't.
No, I bring the lyrics. I bring the lyrics from the YouTube. There are thousands of beautiful songs that you can get, because I was so excited for the karaoke that I get into the singing lessons. For 2 years I am learning to sing better on a singing school here in Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, that sounds great. Has anybody paid you yet to sing?
No, at the present moment, No, at the present moment. I have some presentations on school, and will be a presentation in June on the theater here in Ipanema. Probably know Ipanema here in Rio. Will be a theater that we receive the people from the school to a presentation over there. So I will try to go there.
So you're going to do a recital in June?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. I hope you do a YouTube and you'll share it with us, because I too love to sing, and I shared with you just before that for the first time in my life somebody paid me to sing, and I didn't have to go work in an Italian restaurant as a waiter in order to do that. But it's really it's a lot of fun, and I wish you every success with it.
Oh, thanks. It's very good. It's fantastic.
What kind of impact has amateur radio had on your family life?
On my family life, the amateur radio was not very impacted. I know my wife, Miriam. I know Miriam when she was 3 years old, and I was 20. The first time that Miriam saw me with a radio, a transceiver, a VHF transceiver on my belt. So I think that Miriam thinks that the radio is a part of my body, So he has got used for the radio for all my life, and she is a very good company because she goes to all the shows with me, goes to Germany, to Japan, to U.S. We have gone to U.S. to Santa Clara, to Pacificon, to Dayton Convention. So she loves the Alexloop and the Alex mic, because this was the great possibility that opened to us to travel around the world. So she loves my business.
I think that's great. And have any of your children become ham radio operators?
No, I have a son, 40 years old, and a daughter for 35. They work with the fashion business. But I must confess to you that my son, if you ask him to change the batteries from the remote control, TV remote control, it's probably they will reverse the batteries, He is very bad,
Admittedly, my children are the same way.
Yeah.
What excites you the most about what's happening in ham radio now?
Okay. Ham radio. I am sharing the pleasure that Eric from Alexloop have, that is make a handheld operation, HF handheld operation, to use the radio or the system in your hand. I have some videos that I have an Alexloop KX3 adapted with a small magnetic loop that I use like a handy. I have many experience of this. The first one with the radio and a portable hand pack system I have on my web page. Is probably 15 years ago that I put a very light and small magnetic loop on a SSB radio like Albrecht. There is a radio that have single sideband. AM is a handy that works from 25 for 30 megahertz, a single sideband. So I take this radio and put everything there. Considering that this radio does not have a standing wave relation meter on it, I have problems to tune the loop. So I develop a very simple field strength meter that is constructed on the antenna support, on the antenna boom. And I can graduate or tune the antenna by the needle of an old Akai tape recorder. And there is a hand pack system. It's called the system on my web page.
Okay, I'll put a link to that in the show notes page.
You like this because I have contacts like this with Texas in U.S. I have in Slovenia. I have in Spain. You can't imagine how excited is I be when I can talk to another part of the world, holding all the system in my hand. This is the way that I use to design the Alexloop. The Alexloop is very exclusive because you can hold the antenna with your hand, and you can turn it with your thumb. It's so light, Alexloop, and I put the turning button at the reach of the thumb. So you can listen to radio, pick the noise, and use antenna, and make contacts walking and talking on HF. It's a very good sensation to have to use your radio like a handy, you know. It's very good.
Is there advice that you would like to give to new hams or hams coming back to ham radio after a long period of time?
What I can say to these people is that the magic that I feel when operating the radio is difficult to describe the magic and all the technology involved in the radio. And on my way to think, I think the radio communication is a great technological advance. The color television is fantastic. The computer is a result of a stacking of technologies and the result of the miniaturization. But the ham radio the radio communication is a fantastic thing. You know, I think most of all, you can use one spectrum of radio to reflect on the moon and return to Earth, or you can use to use HF to reflect on the ionosphere to return to Earth and talk to people. It's incredible magic, you know. This is the way. What I can tell to the people that worse to take the time and to explore the ham radio, and for this new generation that are using digital modes and all this kind of new associations between D-Star and all this converging technologies giving a great advance to radio communications is very good. By myself, I prefer the minimalist systems, minimalist operation, how simple, how the minimum of the quantities of equipment that you took on your bag to make radio is better to me. I show my radios inside the Alexloop bag with the Alex mic, with the Alex route. So there is a great advantage to take the tripod, to take the antenna, to take the radio, to take everything on a little bag. This is a very important thing. But to the new hams, I think they have an incredible world to be explored, okay?
So the world of ham radio is absolutely huge, and you've just got to start and jump in. So the question is, are you going to be at the Dayton Hamvention, and where can people find you?
I will be there. I will be there on the Building 3 at the booth number 3109. 3109 is a booth on the Building 3. I will be there when Alexloop booth. It's my 10th of 11th year.
At the Dayton Hamvention, yeah.
At Dayton Hamvention. And it will be a great pleasure to meet these people and ask for my personal excuses for my terrible English, and I try to make it better next time, and give a 73 to all the people who can go there and see me there. It will be a great pleasure to see them there.
Well, Alex, you're such a likable guy that anybody that listens to you for just 5 minutes will have no problem understanding your English. So your English is terrific. You've been a wonderful guest. I thank you so much for coming on the QSO Today podcast. And with that, I want to wish you 73, and I hope to meet you once more again at one of the ham radio shows. Sadly, I won't be at Dayton this year, but at some point soon, I'll see you at one of the ham radio shows. And with that, I'm going to wish you 73.
Okay. I wish you 73 too. It was a great pleasure and associated honor to be a part of this podcast, considering the great celebrities that you invite to be part of this great website that you have, and this possibility that you give to the people to share their knowledge with our ham community. So thank you very much. I will thank you for this, Eric. Thank you very much, Eric, and my best to all the people who have listened. Okay?
73, Alex.
73, bye-bye.
That concludes this episode of QSO Today. I hope that you enjoyed this QSO with Alex. Please be sure to check out the show notes that include links and information about the topics that we discussed. Go to www.qsotoday.com and put in PY1AHD in the search box at the top of the page. My thanks to both ICOM America and QRP Labs for their support of the QSO Today podcast. Please show your support of these fine sponsors by clicking on their links in the show notes pages or by using QSO Today in the coupon box at checkout. You may notice that some of the episodes are transcribed into written text. If you'd like to sponsor this or any of the episodes into written text, please contact me. Support the QSO Today podcast by first joining the QSO Today email list by pressing the subscribe buttons on the show notes pages. I will not spam you or share your email address with anyone. Become a listener sponsor monthly or annually by clicking on the sponsor buttons on the show notes pages. I am grateful for any way that you show appreciation and support. It makes a big difference. QSO Today is now available in iHeartRadio and the iTunes Store, and now a host of podcast services and applications. I have them written on the right-hand side of the show notes pages. Stitcher is still my favorite. Until next time, this is Eric for Z1UG 73. The QSO Today podcast is a product of KEG Media Inc., who is solely responsible for its content.